Welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast. We're so glad you're joining us today.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. We've got something really interesting to dive into.
Absolutely. Today we're focusing on a strategy that many retirees find super helpful, the dividend income strategy for retirement.
Right, dividends can be a fantastic source of income, especially when you're looking to supplement your retirement savings.
Exactly. And we'll explore how this strategy works, why it might be a good fit for your retirement plan, and some tips for getting started.
Plus, we'll talk about the potential risks and considerations because, it's important to look at the whole picture.
Yes. And we'll also share some examples of how dividend-paying stocks can really make a difference in your financial security during retirement.
It's all about creating that steady income stream so you can enjoy your retirement without the stress of financial uncertainty.
Definitely. And we'll wrap up with some actionable steps you can take, whether you're just starting to think about retirement or you're already in that stage.
So let's get into it. What's our first point, Emily? Emily, it's fascinating how many factors are converging right now that make a solid dividend income strategy not just important, but essential for retirees.
Absolutely, David. With the current economic climate, many folks are feeling that pinch, especially when you think about inflation. It's been a hot topic lately, right?
For sure. And inflation can really erode purchasing power, especially for those on fixed incomes. If you're relying solely on Social Security, that might not stretch as far as it used to.
Exactly. I heard from a client recently, let's call her Mary. She's in her early 70s and was really worried about how rising costs were affecting her retirement lifestyle. She said she felt like she was always counting pennies, which is a tough way to live when you've worked so hard for your retirement.
That's a common concern. And it's not just about the day-to-day expenses. Healthcare costs are skyrocketing too, right? For many retirees, that's a significant portion of their budget.
Definitely. Mary mentioned that her prescriptions had gone up quite a bit, and she was worried about whether her savings would cover those unexpected medical expenses.
And that's where dividends can play a crucial role. They can provide a reliable income stream that can help offset those rising costs, allowing retirees like Mary to feel more secure.
Right. And, with the stock market being as volatile as it is lately, having those dividends can offer some stability. It's like a cushion during those ups and downs, isn't it?
Exactly. I've spoken to several clients who are nervous about market fluctuations, but when you have a dividend income strategy, you can potentially weather those storms a bit better. It allows you to focus on the long term instead of reacting to every market dip.
And it's not just about the current market either. It's about planning for the future. Changes to Social Security are always a concern. We never quite know what changes might come down the line.
Right. It's crucial to prepare for those uncertainties. A diversified portfolio that includes dividend-paying stocks can help bridge that gap. You can generate income without solely relying on Social Security, which is a huge relief for many retirees.
And speaking of relief, let's talk about tax efficiency. Many retirees don't realize that dividends can be taxed at a lower rate than ordinary income. That's a big deal when you're trying to stretch your savings.
Yes, that's a great point. Tax efficiency can often be overlooked in retirement planning. So if you're strategically investing in dividend stocks, you might be able to minimize your tax liabilities, which is a win-win.
And you know what else is important? Legacy planning. Many retirees want to leave something behind for their children or grandchildren. A solid dividend strategy can help grow that nest egg while providing income, right?
Absolutely. It's about creating a lasting impact. Just the other day, I was speaking with a couple, let's call them John and Lisa. They wanted to ensure that their children could benefit from their hard work. By focusing on dividend stocks, they're not only funding their retirement, but also growing their estate for their heirs.
That's so inspiring. It's about building a legacy that reflects their values and hard work. And when you can do that while also feeling secure in your own retirement, that's a powerful combination.
And it's not just about the financial side. There's an emotional component to all of this too. When retirees feel financially secure, it can lead to a more fulfilling retirement. They can spend time with family, travel, or pursue hobbies without that constant worry.
Exactly. Stressing over finances can take a toll on overall well-being. I've seen retirees who, once they establish a solid income strategy, suddenly feel lighter, more at ease, like they can finally enjoy the fruits of their labor.
Right, and that peace of mind is priceless. It helps retirees focus on what truly matters, like building relationships and creating memories, rather than stressing over bills.
So David, what can listeners do right now to start building their own dividend income strategy?
Well, first, it's essential to assess your current financial situation. Understand your cash flow needs and how much you'll rely on your investments. Then, consider diversifying your portfolio with a mix of dividend-paying stocks and other income-generating assets.
That makes sense. And it's always good to keep an eye on the companies you're investing in. Look for those with a strong track record of dividend payments, right?
Absolutely. Companies with a history of increasing dividends are often more resilient during tough times. It's about finding those reliable sources of income you can count on.
And I suppose working with a financial advisor can be a great way to tailor a strategy to your unique situation.
Definitely. A good advisor can help you navigate the complexities of retirement planning, especially with all the changes happening in the economy.
Well, it sounds like there are real opportunities for those who take the time to plan strategically.
Exactly. And with the right approach, you can create a retirement that's not just about surviving, but truly thriving.
That's such a great way to put it. So let's dive into some core strategies that can help our listeners implement a successful dividend income strategy.
So let's dive into some core strategies for leveraging dividend income in retirement. You know, one of the biggest advantages of dividends is that they can provide a steady stream of income without selling your investments.
Right, and that's so important, especially when you think about the potential volatility in the market. Having that income can be a real cushion.
Exactly. A common rule of thumb is to aim for a portfolio that yields around 3% to 4% in dividends. If you have $1 million portfolio, that could mean $30,000 to $40,000 a year in dividend income.
Wow, that's a solid chunk of change. And it's nice because it's not like you have to dip into your principal, right?
Absolutely. But it's also about where those dividends are coming from. You want to focus on companies that have a history of raising their dividend payouts over time.
Like blue chip stocks, I assume?
Yes, exactly. Companies like Johnson & Johnson or Procter & Gamble. They've not only been consistent, but have a track record of increasing dividends, sometimes for decades.
So it's really about finding stability and growth potential, right?
Right, and that's where diversification comes in. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. A diversified portfolio might include a mix of stocks, bonds, and perhaps even some real estate investments.
Speaking of real estate, how does that fit into the dividend strategy?
Real estate can be a great source of income, particularly through real estate investment trusts or REITs. They're required to pay out at least 90% of their taxable income as dividends, which can lead to higher yields, sometimes over 5%.
That's interesting. But I guess there's always a trade-off, right?
Exactly. While REITs can provide higher yields, they also come with their own risks, like market fluctuations and interest rate changes. It's all about balancing those risks with your overall investment strategy.
So let's say someone is starting with their retirement planning. Where should they begin with their asset allocation?
A common strategy is the 70-30th rule, 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds when you're younger, and then gradually shifting to a more conservative allocation as you age. Once you hit retirement, a more balanced approach might be around 60-40th or even 50-50, depending on your risk tolerance.
That makes sense. And of course, you have to consider your withdrawal strategy too, right?
Definitely. The 4% rule is a classic guideline, suggesting that you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio annually without running out of money for at least 30 years. So for $1 million portfolio, that would be $40,000 a year.
But it's not always that straightforward, right?
Right. Market conditions can affect that rule. If you start withdrawing during a market downturn, it can really impact your portfolio's longevity. That's why having a bucket strategy can be beneficial.
What's that exactly?
The bucket strategy involves segmenting your assets into different buckets based on when you'll need the money. For example, you might have one bucket for short-term needs, like the first 5 years of retirement, invested in safer assets, and then another bucket for long-term growth, invested in stocks.
So you're essentially creating layers of safety and growth?
Exactly. It's a way to manage risk while still allowing for growth potential. You can adjust the buckets as you go along, depending on your spending needs and market conditions.
That sounds like a smart approach. And what about tax-advantaged accounts?
Great point. Utilizing accounts like a 401k or IRA can help you manage your tax burden. With a traditional 401k, you're deferring taxes until you withdraw funds in retirement, while a Roth IRA allows for tax-free withdrawals in retirement.
So if someone is expecting to be in a higher tax bracket in retirement, they might lean towards a Roth, right?
Exactly. It's all about your current tax situation versus what you anticipate in retirement. And remember, if you're over 72, you'll need to start taking required minimum distributions, or RMDs, from your traditional accounts, which can impact your cash flow strategy.
That's a good reminder.
And keep in mind, tax efficiency is key. Some dividends may be qualified and taxed at a lower rate, while others might be taxed as ordinary income. So understanding where your income is coming from can help you minimize taxes.
So if someone is strategically planning their withdrawals, they should consider which accounts to draw from first.
Exactly. You might want to withdraw from taxable accounts first to let your tax-advantaged accounts grow, or consider delaying Social Security benefits to maximize that income later on.
Speaking of Social Security, how do you see that fitting into the overall strategy?
Social Security can be a foundational piece of your retirement income. The earlier you claim it, the lower your benefits will be, while delaying can increase your monthly payout significantly. If you can afford to wait, it can be a smart strategy.
So it sounds like a lot of planning goes into this.
It does, and it's essential to revisit and adjust your strategy regularly. Markets change, your needs change, and tax laws can shift.
And all of these pieces, dividends, asset allocation, tax strategies, need to work together, right?
Exactly. It's about creating a cohesive plan that aligns with your goals and risk tolerance.
That brings us to the common pitfalls, doesn't it?
Yes, and avoiding those pitfalls is crucial to making the most out of your retirement strategy. You know, Emily, one of the biggest pitfalls I see in retirement planning is the sequence of returns risk. People often think, well, I can live off my investments and it'll be fine. But if the market takes a dip right when they start withdrawing, it can really throw a wrench in their plans.
Absolutely, David. I've heard stories where retirees who had planned for a comfortable lifestyle suddenly found themselves needing to cut back because their portfolio took a hit. It's like getting punched in the gut right when you thought you were secure.
Right, and it's not just about having a good return over time. It's about the timing of those returns. If you retire and the market dips, and you start taking withdrawals, you're selling at a loss, which can really erode your nest egg.
So what can people do to protect themselves from this risk?
Well, one strategy is to have a diversified portfolio that includes cash or cash equivalents. Something liquid to draw from in those early years. This way, you're not forced to sell stocks when the market is down.
That makes sense. I imagine a lot of folks might underestimate how critical that cash cushion can be. What about taxes? That's another area where people often slip up, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Many retirees ignore the tax implications of their withdrawals. For example, if you're pulling from a tax-deferred account like a traditional IRA, those withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income. If you're not careful, you could end up in a higher tax bracket than you expected.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that. Can you share an example of someone who ran into trouble because of this?
Sure, I had a client, let's call him John. He retired and started taking large withdrawals from his IRA without considering the tax impact. He ended up pushing himself into a higher tax bracket, which meant he owed way more than he anticipated, and it impacted his cash flow significantly.
Yikes! That must have been a tough lesson for him.
It was, but we helped him adjust his withdrawal strategy to include some tax-efficient withdrawals from his taxable accounts as well. It's all about finding that balance.
I can see how important it is to have a comprehensive understanding of taxes in retirement. What else do you see as a common mistake?
One big one is underestimating healthcare costs and longevity. People think, well, I'm healthy now, so I won't need much, but healthcare expenses can skyrocket, especially as we age.
Right, and with the rising cost of healthcare, planning for that can feel overwhelming. Do you have any stories that illustrate this?
Absolutely. I had a couple, let's call them Susan and Mike. They both retired in their early 60s and didn't account for healthcare costs. Within just a few years, Susan was diagnosed with a chronic condition. Their insurance didn't cover everything, and they quickly found their savings dwindling as they struggled to pay out-of-pocket expenses.
That sounds really tough. So how could they have better prepared for that situation?
Planning for healthcare costs is essential. I always recommend having a separate fund for medical expenses and looking into long-term care insurance if it makes sense for their situation. It's also wise to stay informed about Medicare and what it covers.
Good point. Now, what about asset allocation? Is that something retirees often overlook?
Yes, many retirees stick to an overly conservative allocation out of fear of losing money. While it's important to be cautious, being too conservative can lead to not having enough growth to outpace inflation.
So it's a balancing act, right? How do people find that sweet spot?
Absolutely. It involves assessing their risk tolerance and time horizon. A good mix of equities and fixed income can provide growth potential while still managing risk. Regularly reviewing and adjusting the portfolio is also key.
I can see how that regular check-in could prevent issues down the line. What about Social Security? I've heard people can make mistakes there too.
Oh, for sure. Claiming Social Security too early is a common error. Many folks think they should just start taking it at 62, but that can reduce their benefits significantly over time.
So what's the best strategy for claiming Social Security?
Ideally, you should wait as long as possible, especially if you're in good health. Delaying benefits can increase your monthly payments, and that can really add up over time. It's like a built-in inflation hedge.
That's such a smart way to think about it. Are there any red flags that people can look for to avoid these pitfalls early on?
Definitely. If you're not tracking your spending and savings regularly, that's a big red flag. Also, if you're relying solely on a financial advisor without understanding your own plan, that can lead to issues. It's crucial to stay engaged in your retirement planning.
Right, being proactive instead of reactive can make all the difference. So, if someone finds themselves in a tough position because of these pitfalls, what are some steps they can take to recover?
First, reassess your overall plan. Look at your spending habits, see where you can cut back. Then, consider consulting a financial advisor for a second opinion. They can help you create a more sustainable withdrawal strategy or reassess your investment allocation.
That's great advice. It sounds like being adaptable and informed is key in retirement.
Absolutely, and remember, it's never too late to make adjustments. Just because you've hit a bump in the road doesn't mean you can't get back on track.
Such a reassuring thought, David. It's all about being proactive and making informed decisions. I think our listeners will really appreciate this insight.
I hope so. It's all about empowering people to take control of their financial futures.
Exactly. Well, I think we've covered some vital points today, and I'm excited to explore the next steps in our upcoming discussions.
All right, so let's get into some immediate steps that our listeners can take right now to really start implementing a dividend income strategy.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think a lot of people might be wondering, what can they do today, right?
Exactly. The first thing I'd suggest is to review your current investment portfolio. Just take a look at what you own and see how much of it is generating dividends.
Right. And if they find they don't have a good mix of dividend-paying stocks, they might want to consider reallocating some funds.
Absolutely. And to help with that, there are some great online tools available, like the retirement calculators from Vanguard, Fidelity, or Charles Schwab. These can help you assess your current situation and project future income.
Those calculators are really user-friendly too. They can give you a clearer picture of how much you need to save and what kind of returns to expect.
For sure. And while you're at it, visiting SSA.gov can give you an idea of your Social Security benefits, which is another important piece of the puzzle.
It's amazing how many people overlook that. Knowing your Social Security projections can really help in planning out your overall income strategy.
Right. And if you're thinking about tax implications, because we all know they can be tricky, using tax software like TurboTax or H&R Block can help you understand how dividends will affect your tax situation.
That's so important. Managing taxes effectively can really maximize the income you receive from those dividends.
Exactly. And don't forget about financial planning apps like Mint or Personal Capital. They can help you track your investments and spending, giving you a comprehensive view of your financial health.
Yeah, those apps can be a real game changer, especially for keeping everything organized.
And let's talk about habits. It's always a good idea to review your portfolio quarterly. Just set a reminder on your phone or calendar.
That's a simple step that can make a big difference, right? Keeping an eye on your investments keeps you informed and can help you make timely adjustments.
Exactly. and I'd recommend running retirement projections at least once a year. This helps you see if you're on track to meet your goals or if you need to make any changes.
Such good advice. It can feel overwhelming, but taking it step by step really helps.
And speaking of steps, I think it's essential to educate yourself continuously. There are some fantastic books out there, like The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John Bogle.
Oh, I love that one. It really breaks down the importance of low-cost index funds and long-term investing.
Exactly. And there's also The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, which dives deep into value investing principles.
Those are classics. And there are great podcasts, too. Bigger Pockets Money is one I recommend. They talk about financial independence and real estate investing.
That's a great choice. And don't forget about the Motley Fool Money Show. They give updates on the stock market and investment strategies.
So many resources to choose from. It's really about finding what resonates with you and your goals.
Definitely. And remember, it's never too late to improve your plan. Even small changes can lead to significant results over time.
Yeah, just starting with one or two of these steps can make a big difference.
So, as you begin to implement these strategies, think about setting clear, actionable goals. Maybe it's as simple as deciding to increase your dividend investments by a certain percentage.
Or committing to that quarterly portfolio review we talked about. It's all about creating those good habits.
Exactly. And the key is to stay proactive. Retirement planning is an ongoing process, not a one-and-done situation.
That's such an important mindset to have. Staying engaged in your financial future can really empower you.
With these tools in your pocket, you're ready to strengthen your retirement plan. Well, Emily, I think we really covered some important points today about dividend income strategies, didn't we?
Absolutely, David. It's all about making your money work for you, right? So to recap, one key takeaway is the importance of diversifying your dividend-paying stocks. It helps manage risk while still providing that steady income.
Yeah, and we also talked about how essential it is to reinvest those dividends, particularly early on. This strategy can really boost your overall retirement portfolio over time.
Right, and let's not forget about the tax implications. Understanding how dividends are taxed can help maximize your income, especially in retirement when every bit counts.
Exactly. And, having a solid plan in place, one that aligns with your lifestyle and goals, is crucial. It's all about building that safety net for your future.
It really is, David. And for our listeners, remember that these strategies can help you create a reliable income stream, allowing you to enjoy your retirement without financial stress.
So as we wrap up, we encourage everyone to take these insights to heart. Building and protecting your retirement wealth is a journey, and it's never too late to start.
Right, and if you found today's episode helpful, please like and subscribe to the podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have.
And don't forget to share this episode with someone who might be planning for or already in retirement. It could make a big difference for them.
Absolutely. And next time, we'll dive into a comparison of index funds and mutual funds for retirement. Another important topic that can help you navigate your investment options.
We're looking forward to it.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone.
Yeah, take care, and we'll see you next time.